Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thank you for being with us. We are beginning this hour in New York. Closing arguments are underway in the sex trafficking trial for Sean Diddy Combs. The music mogul is accused of using his fame and fortune to run a criminal enterprise involving coercion, violence, and sex trafficking. And throughout the trial, jurors heard from several of Combs' former girlfriends who all testified they felt forced to engage in so-called freak-offs or hotel nights that would often last days. And right now, the federal government is delivering their closing to this jury, expected to last 4 hours. Let's go out now, live on the ground to New York, where we find Court TV anchor Julie Grant, host of Opening Statements. Julie, tell us how these closings are going so far.
Julia, so far so good. Strong start for the federal government. And I do have some news to share that right before the judge had the closing arguments begin, he said, let's let everybody know what this schedule is looking like. Today, it's going to be all the federal government delivering their closing arguments. And then tomorrow is the scheduled day for the defense and more from the federal government. They are going to do what's called a rebuttal. So then after the defense attorneys deliver their close, and Julia, as you know, each side gets up to 4 hours to do it, then the government will get up and present again. So the judge noted that today will be a shorter day for this jury. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. And at this point, it's hard to tell when the jury will receive instructions and when they get the case. But in terms of the government's start today, Julia, I have to tell you, they are doing exactly what they need to do in simplifying this case. This federal prosecutor is up there going through element by element and helping these charges that can be kind of daunting to hear about and read about, making it so simple for this jury. There's a PowerPoint presentation where she gives the definition of all of the crimes that are being alleged against Sean Combs, and then she's going through all the specific facts of the case to substantiate those crimes. And while she's doing it, Julia, Diddy looks confident. Watching him closely. When he walked in the courtroom, you can see he's wearing a really, really light gray sweater, and have to tell you, it matches his hair at this point. His hair is not black anymore. It is gray, almost white. He has a little bit of facial hair on his chin. He walked in with that sweater, as he normally does, and the tan pants, and he went and sat down by his attorneys. And then when everyone was on their feet for the jury, or before that, excuse me, let me back up a second. Before he sat down, I saw as he was making the bend around counsel table, he looked back at the gallery, and the gallery is filled with members of his family. His mother is there, his children are there, and he looked back at the members of the gallery, and then I saw him put his fist right in the middle of his chest, like kind of brought his fist to his chest, almost to signal something like, you're with me or I'm with you. It was a signal of love and support, certainly to the members of his family who are sitting just rows behind him. So then after they got started and he got seated next to his attorney, Brian Steele, we saw him back up his chair and extend his legs and lean back, and he has his arms folded in front of him. Julia, he looks very, very comfortable and very relaxed. And these are not circumstances, as you know, that are ones to relax in. His life is on the line, his life in jeopardy.
Oh, that's fascinating to hear your take on that, Julie, being there inside of the courtroom, because just this morning on Opening Statements, you were discussing his body language, and we were going based on the AI-generated transcripts of how he sounded, and now it sounds like he is looking the same way that he sounded, even in the words that were spoken yesterday when he was interacting with the judge. So in talking again about the closing from the prosecution, I know the opening statement went a certain way where they kind of introduced the jury to Sean Diddy Combs. Are they taking them through that world of his and maybe explaining to them that it's, again, very different from a world that they live in, but this is what was going on behind those closed doors now that they've seen all of the evidence?
Yes, they are, Julia. They're trying to negate what the defense is trying to say here, that this is about Diddy's sex life, his private life, his proclivities that may not be for everyone, that there was consent involved with all of these individuals who were involved in these freak-offs or hotel nights. The government is fighting back hard on that, saying no. These were federal crimes that were committed. What he did in his private life broke federal law. They're making that incredibly clear. And I think that's what's so key, because both things can be true. Yes, it's true that he led a very wild private life full of sex, full of these freak-offs with these strange men who were made to have sexual relations with the women in his life that he was in relationships with. Cassie Ventura, who started as his artist, and then the woman who became known as Jane, pseudonym Jane, throughout this trial, his girlfriend until present day. And the government is going through the charges and the predicate acts. Julia, something else that I know it stunned me when I came into court today because of all of the reporting that was being done yesterday. Remember how the news that was swirling was that charges were dropped. And we know at Court TV no charges were ever dropped. They were predicate acts that were simplified in the jury instructions. What the federal government was asking the judge to instruct the jury on. It seemed, based on the reporting we had yesterday, that the government may be backing off the Kid Cudi arson. They may be backing off the Capricorn Clark kidnapping. I can tell you this morning, no, that is not the case. They are including those things in the predicate acts. So they may not be part of what the judge recites to the jury. They may not be a focus of the jury instructions, but Julia, I will tell you, they are a major part of this case. In fact, some of the first couple things the attorney was arguing had to deal with the Kid Cudi arson and the kidnapping of Diddy's assistant Capricorn Clark. So they have laid out 8 predicate crimes overall, 8 of those racketeering activities that go under the big umbrella of the racketeering conspiracy. In addition to those 2 that I mentioned, we've got drug distribution, bribery, sex trafficking, transportation to commit prostitution, forced labor, and witness tampering and obstruction. Julia.
I'm so glad you clarified that in terms of what we were learning yesterday and what we know today. There's a gag order with the attorney, so they can't share exactly what's going on, but we do understand now that there was attempted arson and arson. They took the attempted off, and it sounds like they are still talking about the arson and the kidnapping inside of that courtroom, but no longer going to focus on the attempted side of it, just to make things easier for this jury, because as you just read, it sounds like there is a lot. Julie, anything else you want to say before we let you go back to court? Anything about the mood there or the people who are there on this very important day of the trial?
Sure, Julia. Yes, it is packed. As you can imagine, you've covered major high-profile trials before. There's just as much action going on outside as there is inside. So overnight, people were waiting late last night, in the overnight hours into early this morning, to try to get a seat in the courtroom, one of those coveted seats. There's a line for media. There's a line for members of the public. We tried very hard to get into the courtroom. We may still at some point today. We'll see. We're on a waiting list. But we were able to go into an overflow room today. There are now 3 overflow rooms, Julia, where they have televisions that are filming everything in the courtroom, and members of the media or public can go into those rooms and watch. And the rules of court still apply. Everyone has to be quiet and maintain that courtroom decorum that's necessary. Outside, there's a huge media row where I'm sitting right now. We're in a tent, and there are several other tents that line most of the streets on this whole block. And then across the way, right in front of the courthouse, you see lots of people who are content creators, YouTubers, and whatnot, using their cell phones and selfie sticks and making videos and such. So lots of action, lots of passersby. This is in a busy area of Lower Manhattan. Lots of people who are coming up to us saying, what's going on? Why are you here? As soon as we say the Diddy trial, it's, oh, yes, I figured. That's just about the answer everybody gives.